Okay, so what we're looking at now is actually calculating the area. And first off, we're going to look at calculating the area of a square or a rectangle. So if you have a look at this rectangle here, I've got my length, oops, so it's actually, we've got it here, I've got my length and I've got my width. Okay, so remember what I was saying in a previous video is that you're actually it's multiplying that by that to give you this area here. All right, so that's why we go length times width. All right, so keep in mind area equals length times width. If you've got a square, it's essentially your length. So for a square, length equals width. So you can say area is length times length, so you get length squared. So area for a square, so that's for a rectangle, and this is for a square. Oops, square. Area equals length squared. So that's my L. My L is not the very best to write with. Right, so let's have a look at this. Find the area of these rectangles and squares. Diagrams are not from the scale. All right, so length is 10. Sorry, my width is 10 and my length is 20. So if you remember, A equals length times width. It's going to be 10 times 20. If I go 10 times 20, I've got 200. Now, something I hope you might have picked up is that I'm missing my units here. Now, my units are centimeters here and centimeters here. So that means my units are going to be centimeter squared. Okay. So if you look at this next one, find the side length of the square. Now, the key point here is square. Square is our key word in this one. I'm going to put it different with each of these areas. So the point with a question like this is, if it's a square, the area equals length times length, so length squared. Okay, if it's length squared, that what I'm trying to look for, if any of these, is what number can I multiply by itself to get 4? In that case, what you could look at is say that the side length, so L equals 2, because if I worked out the area, I'll go A equals L squared equals 2 squared equals 4. In this case, centimeters squared. So you need to do the same for these two. You just look at the number that's going to give you 25 if you multiply it by itself. The number that's going to give you 144 if you multiply it by itself. Let's have a look at this one. Calculating area of a square rectangle again. But now, so a square, again, all of these ones have squares, has a perimeter of 20 centimeters. Okay. So what that means, so if I'm just going to I'm not going to pick the first one. So I'm going to go A. If a square has a perimeter of 20 centimeters, if I draw that, that means 5 and 5. So 5 plus 5 is 10 plus 5 plus 5. That's going to give me a perimeter of 20 centimeters. That means my area is going to be coming from that. So I'm going to go area equals L squared. That's going to be L equals 5. It's going to give me 5 squared. That's going to give me 25. And what units is it in? It's in centimeters. So it's going to be centimeters squared. All right. You're going to have to do similar types of questions in these ones, where you're going to potentially, in the next one, you're going to go from area. So what number, will multiply by itself will give you 9. And you're going to use the same sort of thinking as there, but I'm not going to give you the answer to that one. In this case, find the missing length for each of these rectangles. So what we're looking at here is I need an area to be equal to, so now it's a rectangle, remember? So rectangle area is A equals length times width, all right? So in this case, if I do that, let's go, I'm going to go, area is 50, so it's going to be 50 equals, in this case, we're going to go length times 5, because that's my width, okay? That equals W. So that means I'm going to go, remember that's L. Yes, I know my L's really, really bad. I'm going to have 5, so inverse operation to that. So the opposite operation to multiply is divide. So I'm going to divide by 5. I'm I'm going to divide by 5. And so L is equal to 10 centimetres. Remember, my units are centimetre squared for the area and centimetres here. So you need to do a similar type of thing for that question there.